Hey everybody, welcome to a long overdue travel vlog. This is my first time in Europe and Marie's first big princess cruise. Having fun so far?
Absolutely.
Yes, this has been so far so good, with one hiccup which we will discuss, but we made it, so no big deal. We left San Diego on a Saturday morning at almost 6. Just took off right around 6:30. Made a stop after 3 or 4 hours in Chicago, and then had lunch, and then another 9 hours on Chicago. Unfortunately, separated. They couldn't sit us together.
Yep, we were both having a middle seat.
Yeah, that's right. So, but that was fine. It was smooth, right? And everything worked out. Then we took about an hour bus ride after we got through customs, which seemed to take forever. From the airport, which is on the coast, just to the west of Rome, up the coast to the port city, and took off onto the ship from there.
Yeah.
We got to see some of the countryside, and on the bus, I definitely slept right here. So that was nice. And then basically we got straight to getting unpacked and breaking out our drink package.
Yes.
So we have the full drink package with the extra meals and the free Wi-Fi and all that.
Discovering everything that is part of our package.
Because we bought this basically when we found out this cruise was happening, and I always wanted to do the European cruise. It's not very common because it's a repositioning cruise for the ship. It's not one that they do over and over and over. So you either make it on the ship or you don't. So we booked it like 3 months after we started dating.
I know. What a risk.
And here we are 15 months later, just about.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome.
I got my first pedicure for a very long time, and instead of putting a collar, she just put glitters on it. Something that I've never done before. Yeah. And boy, my shoes looks even better with my glitters on my toes.
That's
so
right.
I'm very happy about what she's done so far.
That's awesome. Yeah, they really take care of you at Princess.
Absolutely,
so
they really do.
So stay tuned, as our first shore stop is tomorrow.
Have fun.
So meet us there. Just got wrapped up with day 2. We went to Cagliari, which is on the island of Sardinia. Hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. We had a really nice bus ride, about an hour, I'd say, on the bus, all told. And went downtown in Cagliari, which is the capital of Sardinia, and got to see a little bit of the history, got to see some buildings that were built after World War II, and sort of the history of the rebuilding of the city after the Second World War. And then after that, we took a little bit of a walk downtown, visited a neat old church, and they basically, kind of like a museum on the inside, they had paintings and things with notes about how old they were and things like that. And they were all in Italian, so I couldn't read them, but it was still really cool to look at some of that history. And then we got back on the bus and did a wine tasting tour.
The winery is called Odaria Winery, so it was a very good winery to visit. And we had like a great explanation how they were making their wine. They are mostly using stainless steel
casks.
Yeah. And I have here the list of the 3 wines that we tasted. The first one is Vermentino, second one is Rosato, and the other one is Canono. So it's basically a white, a rosé, and a red wine. So it's a very good wine, but not the best that I thought. But the experience was excellent, and I was very happy that we did that today.
They produce something like 30% of all the barrels of wine in the island, and we got to taste 3 of their wines, along with the pairing of meats and breads and cheeses, as well as some olives. And after that, back to the boat for some fun. And tomorrow we'll be at sea, so we'll see if we record anything, but I think it's going to be a lot of workouts, dances, line dances, some bingo, and a lot of food again. Well, after a fun-filled sea day, filled with dancing and more music and good food, obviously, on the ship here. We had our formal night where we got to dress up and go to a fancy sushi restaurant. And for those of you who know me, I'm not a big sushi guy, but Marie loves it, and I wanted to get in there and make sure that I did something new on this trip full of fun and new experiences, and I actually didn't hate it, so that was awesome. We made it to Cartagena on time, even with the delay, and we were around the port for most of it because it is a very rich port city. The entire town and history of the town is based on the fact that it has this beautiful natural harbor, and we got to see some Navy ships. We got to see a submarine pen where they build their diesel electric subs. And we got to do a tour of the city center of Cartagena. And we got to see the municipality building. And this ancient Roman theater was really cool. We got to walk around it for a little bit, take some pictures and videos, and actually feel what it would have been like sitting on a stage or standing on a stage of a 7,000 foot theater, a Coliseum, back built around 1 or 0 BC, and used hundreds of years later as a meeting place for shops and things. As the natural columns and stuff that they built decayed, they used them continuously, the ruins, to build walls of shops and stores and things like that. So it was definitely in use for many, many, many years. And then we went on what was the heart of the tour, the tapas, and we had we had 5 separate tapas, starting with the Spanish tortilla, which is not like tortillas in San Diego. It was filled with, it was basically a quiche. And our favorite was actually the slightly spicy potatoes with like a cream sauce, and they were awesome. I would definitely order a big plate of those at some point again, for sure. And then Marie and I, after that tour ended, we had a couple hours. We separated. We went to the highest point, this park above that Roman area, and we got to see pretty much every side of the city from that high vantage point, and that was really cool to be able to sort of take it in. It does go pretty far, and we got to see our cruise ship really well from that vantage point, and everywhere that we visited from right there. So that was really cool to see it all in one glance. And we ended it up at the end of the day going to this liquor location that 43 or 43, and that is their liquor that they make. And we got to do a taste testing. Marie had the chocolate and I had the caramel, and we decided it was so good we're going to do what their special is, and it is a coffee infused layered drink where they put their liquor 43 in it, and it was awesome. We split one because we didn't want to be up all night, and it was really cool. So we did all that, and then we came back to the ship. We had to leave port by 3:30 to make it to our next stop, which is Gibraltar, on time. And obviously we had fun on the ship afterwards too. What a day in Gibraltar. My first ever trip to anything UK as an adult, other than the Bahamas as a kid. And we started the day, it actually was pretty chilly with a nice breeze going through, but it warmed up throughout the day as we walked. We took a bus ride up to the tip top of Gibraltar, where they dropped us off and they said, "Good luck!" And they gave us a ticket basically around our wrist that allowed us to go into these natural cave formations where we saw a bunch of stalagmites, stalactites, some in the shape of angels. They had projections on them to sort of show you how they were formed, a little history about them, and lots of very photogenic spots inside this giant natural cave formation. From there, we walked over the top ridge of the Rock of Gibraltar and got to see both sides of the island just by basically taking 3 or 4 steps. It felt like it was very narrow, and we got to see the monkeys, right? I don't know. Macaque.
I don't know.
But there were a ton of them, and they basically they feed them so that they're used to humans, and they're not as I mean, they're wild, but they're not like natural anymore. It was really cool to see them, and they were very. They didn't care about you there. They weren't afraid of you or anything like that. So we got to get pretty close to take some of these photos and stuff like that. Just made sure we stayed far enough away where we weren't touching them and they weren't going to steal our phone or something. And then we went to another cave system, this time man-made, in order to see the ones for the Siege of Gibraltar, which was around the turn of the century 1800s. Which was a siege where Spain was trying to take control of Gibraltar, and they sieged it over and over and over, and they could not break the Great Britain's hold on the territory, and it remains a British territory to this day ever since. We saw those caves. It was really neat to see how they were made back in the day and how extensive they were for the technology that they had at the time. We walked further down and up and down and up and down the rock till we got to the World War II cave system. This was a much larger and intensive cave system where we got to see how the area was used by the British and by the Allied forces during World War II, as well as what happened to the civilians that lived in the city of Gibraltar due to the war effort, and how they had to be moved because of how dangerous it was being so close to Italy, so close to North Africa where these war zones were happening. We saw a few of those big caves before we started making our way down this giant staircase that led us from the mountainside down all the way. Like, it's a big mountain. And so it's a big staircase that took you in between buildings and things like that to the city center, where we got to take some more photos of the We Heart Gibraltar sign, and finally thereafter made our way back to the ship.
Yeah, I just want to add, it was a very interesting trip, but there's a lot of walking. I think we calculated, I was just looking at my watch earlier, 18,000 steps.
Yeah.
Just going from the top and walking all the way to the very bottom. So we need to be very healthy for doing this, but it was really worth it, and learning what's the feel of Gibraltar.
Tomorrow we have a sea day, so we're going to make the best of it. We've already got plans on things like Zumba and more line dancing, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of good food. So we'll see what tomorrow brings and see how much of that planning comes to action. So tonight we have sleep. Well, the next stop on our Tapas tour of Europe, as I'm calling it, is the city of La Coruña, and we did a bus tour of the city. They call it the City of Crystal because of the high winds that come off of the sea, and a lot of the buildings facing the sea have enclosed balconies, where they enclosed them many years ago to make sure that people could still use the balconies and protect them from the high winds that can come off the sea. We saw the city center with its beautiful architecture, as well as the Tower of Hercules, the oldest, currently still working lighthouse in the world. We got to go around town, seeing different areas through our bus adventures. Giant cannons, World War II cannons for defense of the coast. And then finally, we got to do a brewery tour of the Estrella brewery and factory. And it's not even their biggest factory. They're building a bigger factory, but this place was the biggest, most interactive, interesting brewery tour I've ever done, and same thing goes for Marie. We got to see an interactive exhibit on the history of both the factory, the brand, and the family behind it, as well as where they source their water and where they have deep roots and connections with this part of Spain. And they had an amazing tasting at the end, paired with some of the best cheeses we've ever had, and we had an amazing time. We highly suggest the Estrella tour if you're ever in La Coruña, Spain. Well, after our Spain adventures, we ended up in France on the tour of Princess, and it was our first stop, my first stop in France, Le Havre. Did I say that right?
Le Havre.
Le Havre. And we walked around town until about noon, about lunchtime, because our shore excursion through the ship didn't go until 1 p.m. So we walked around Le Havre, and we saw the cool art exhibits on the outside. They have a lot of street art, containers. They had a lot of churches that were really interesting and old. They had some that were newer, that were built more with concrete and glass, and a lot of just really cool buildings we got to see. And we walked all around that little town until we got back on the ship. And then we took a bus ride over to a brewery and distillery of both apple cider, apple juice, and it was kind of a brandy, an apple brandy.
Yeah.
And they showed how the different things are distilled and made and separated and things of that nature. And they had a different cheese from the areas of Normandy all around. Each town had their own different cheese, and then the Camembert was definitely on the top of the list, hands down. And we just they left it out there, and we just sort of kept eating it. Nobody's around, kept eating it. So that was super fun. And then we got back on the bus, and we went to Honfleur.
Yeah, almost there. Honfleur.
Honfleur. And this was a very quaint, very old village, and that reminded you of
Quebec City, in the area of Le Petit Champlain.
Oh, okay. So it's like the precursor to Quebec City, as the person who basically founded Quebec City was from here originally and brought a lot of the design aspects from it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I was there and I was feeling like home.
Yeah. So that was cool. We got a little tour of a small town, and we then, on our own, went to a coffee shop and had a lunch.
It was like French fries with, instead of the gravy sauce, it was like melted camembert.
Yeah, it was melted camembert. It was awesome. And we got that to go because we were in a rush. They only gave us an hour, and but we had a great time there. And back, that was our first stop in France before we head on land later on. But that was really cool. And the next couple days were sea days, and one was planned, one was not. Unfortunately, we aren't going to have a UK stop on this cruise tour, as the winds were too high as far as being able to safely get into Dover. So we had 2 sea days. We did a lot more dancing. I got a dance competition on the middle of the ship in the lobby, and Marie got up there and did some karaoke in French, which was really fun to watch because she really belted it out there, gave it her all.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So although we weren't able to go into Dover, our next sea day was actually planned, and this was really cool. We did basically behind the scenes of the ship the entire day. We did, starting off, was a culinary experience with the executive chef of the ship, which ended with a tour of the main galley, which was pretty cool to see the space in which they cook the majority of the food downstairs. And we got our picture with Ratatouille himself.
With the chef. Yeah, that was awesome.
And then we got to see what it is like to be a crew member on board in another talk with cruise director Nick, where he showed where they live and what it's like to be on a ship for 6 to 8 months at a time with not many days off. And so that was a really cool insider look at the ship. And then finally, at the end of the day, we ended with something that's extremely special, because I've always wanted to see the bridge of the ship. And this was super cool to be able to see where they pilot the ship, where they enter GPS coordinates, where they spot things in the water. And you got a panoramic, like 270 degree view of all the way around the ship, all the way over the sides. because it kind of juts out in the front of the ship, and that was really cool. And then the captain came over and met us and said, "Hey, thanks for visiting," and answered questions of ours. What did you think?
It was pretty special, something that I was not expecting.
Yeah.
It was a great opportunity to be able to do something like this, meeting the crew.
Yeah, they were very knowledgeable and just happy to be there for us. I gotta say, whatever they can do to make our experience better is what they're always trying to do. So kudos, Princess, on that. And then after our 2 sea days, we hit up Oslo. So we now can check Norway off the box, and we did a underground, really neat underground bus route to a Viking themed bike rental. And we did an American girl, lady, helped us out with a tour, a biking tour. There were 12 of us in total, so we separated in 2 6-person groups and toured all around the basically the several miles around the port and around the Capitol building where the palace is. And that was really cool to see the city hall, obviously the Capitol building, a few of the parks that they've got there, a lot of the art and the history of the town, as well as some of their military structures and things.
And the houses also, they are big. It's very nice. And most of the roads are made for biking.
Yep.
So it was very safe everywhere where we went.
Flat. Yeah. So I would definitely do that bike ride, not regretting it one bit. Yeah. Next, we went to Skagen, Denmark, or as they call it, Skagen. And we went on a very short bus ride again. This time needed, right, to get to the sort of the heart of the town. And this town is small. Skagen, Denmark is 2 miles across from one side to the other, and because of how basically the entire town is waterfront on both sides, it is the largest fishing stop in both Denmark and Sweden, and it's not even in Sweden. We did a guided tour where we got to have some local brews, some cheeses as well, which seems to be a theme for this trip. And that's okay. Eating our way through Europe is a good way to do it. Then we got to see a local candy manufacturer, how they make local licorice. And when we say licorice in this part of the world, we're not talking about the licorice bush or licorice plant making a sweet red vine. They're talking about the dark, salty licorice, and nothing to do with the licorice plant itself. It was really interesting. They also had, good flavors that are more to our palate, cherry and strawberry and whatnot, but those were pretty good. We liked those a lot, and we stayed to watch him make some of the licorice as long as we could while the tour was not moving. And we moved on they had a more of a tour of the small town and then lunch. And we got to have some local fare food as well and local drinks once again. And that was it for Skagen. And then we were on our way to Copenhagen for the last sea day. So we got to watch the farewell tour. We got to watch the people on the boat say goodbye and do their special shows, the farewell shows, the variety acts, things of that nature.
And the comedian was very good.
Yes.
It was a cherry on a Sunday.
Yeah, so that was really nice. Then we got on an early bus ride to the airport in Copenhagen from the ship and off to Amsterdam, which is where we are now. Yeah. For our last night in Amsterdam. It has been a bit of a whirlwind this last few days, which is why we've recorded all of these voiceovers here. But Amsterdam has been really cool. The local, we have found our favorite restaurant. We wish they were in San Diego, and we've had their local,
too expensive.
Yeah, their local cuisine section of the menu. We've been trying out some of their local fare again, trying not to just have burgers, pizzas, and fries the entire time we're away from San Diego, and it has been delicious. After we woke up this morning, we went to Kuchenhof. And that is the tulip. It's basically just a giant park. Imagine Disneyland if you don't like rides and you really liked flowers.
Yeah.
And just as many people. So if you're going to go to Kuchenhof, get there well before 10 a.m. I'm glad we did. Good job. Yeah.
Thank you.
And then we stayed there long enough to have lunch. So that was a good 3 hours or more of just enjoying the sights, and we went through a maze, and we saw some pretty cool set pieces where we got to climb up into a windmill, things like that.
The main reason why it's important to get there before 10 is it seems like after 10, maybe a lot of groups are coming all at once, and it gets so crowded.
Super crowded.
That it's so hard to walk through the flowers, through the people, and
everybody taking
it's
selfies.
No more pleasant,
Yeah.
as pleasant as it was in the morning.
Yeah, so get there early. Then after that, we went to the another brewery tour.
Heineken.
The Heineken Brewery. And we saw basically the history of Heineken. Their first plant was only around for a couple years before they had to move. So this was their first real big plant that they've now turned entirely into a museum. And so we got to learn about the family history, the brewing process once again, which we already learned a lot from the Australia tour. Yeah. So we glanced over some of that. And we got to try some different mixes of Heineken, as well as becoming a bottled ourselves. We got to do a part of the tour where we became the beer, which was pretty interesting. It was like a ride, and did that on the rooftop terrace, playing beanbags with another couple, and just enjoying the view from above Amsterdam, seeing how widespread this whole town is. It's large, much larger than it looks on the map, and easy to get around though.
Everything was easy to get around in Amsterdam. Very good use of Google
Yes.
Map, but also the metro, the buses, and the walks.
Then on our way back, we hit up a tour via the waterways. So we got on a little boat, and it had an audio tour, and we got to hear about some of the ancient waterways as the city grew way back in the medieval times and what have you. They continued to add more waterways, as those were the highways of the time back then, and now we're using them still to this very day, and they're maintained, and they have locks, and they have bridges that can go up and down to let taller boats through, but mostly they're these short boats that just go right underneath the bridges. And that was a neat way to sort of end our night, as we got to enjoy last night in Amsterdam. Before tomorrow we take the high-speed train to Paris. So that will be our next update on our Tapas tour through Europe. Paris was a blast. We took a high-speed train from Amsterdam, hovering at 300 kilometers per hour on the fastest parts. That was really cool. It was like taking a flight as far as amenities and whatnot, but you're on the ground. You get to see everything. You don't have a bunch of clouds covering up the experience. So that was really cool. We got to Paris that night, and after figuring out the train system, at least most of the way, we made it to the block that our hotel was on, which made it easy because it was literally the same stop as the Eiffel Tower, which is very well marked on all the maps.
Enfin arrivé. We're finally here at the Mercury Hotel in Paris, and we should have a little view of the Eiffel Tower. So let's see how it is. How are we opening this? There you go.
It counts.
It counts. Nice.
Nice. We got to see the Eiffel Tower at night. We would walk the whole block, and we got to see it light itself up amongst all the misty, cloudy sky, and it was really cool to see like the searchlights, like they shone really well in the water.
It was also a little bit cold. We had a jacket with the hood on, but worth it. So worth it.
And got my first taste of Parisian food, which was amazing. I had the cordon bleu, and we ended the night with some pastries. I had the torsade, which is like a pain chocolat, but it's like a twirly one, and that was amazing. I ended up having 3 of them by the end of the trip.
Sorry, stomach. The next day, we got up and headed down to our own self-made walking tour, starting at the Arc de Triomphe. And we did the whole underneath the street, popped out up on underneath, and really just took it in. Took our time, read the monuments and see what it was all about. They were getting ready for, I believe, Memorial Day celebration there, so they were putting up flags and stuff. It was going to be a real big show. We had lunch right there on the Champs-Élysées with over to our right we could see the Arc de Triomphe. In front of us we had like the Louis Vuitton building, things like that. And there we had Croque Monsieur and
Croque Madame.
That's right. So we split those. Those were also very good, obviously.
I think the only difference between the Croque Monsieur and the Croque Madame is the Croque Madame has an egg on it.
Yeah, you had an egg.
Like an egg.
We walked along the Louvre. We did go inside the Louvre grounds, but basically just the garden area that time, because the section with the pyramid was just packed. So we decided to admire it from afar. And then from there we walked all the way to Notre Dame, and got to see the cranes. They still have cranes up there where they were working on it after the fires. And then from there we took the metro back to our hotel room because it's time to go up into the top of the Eiffel Tower for our champagne toast. And that was really cool to enjoy the city from the highest, most central point. And very, 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 very special. So we took as much time as we could handle, but it got cold.
Yeah.
So I was ready to go down. Luckily we had our jackets on and stuff, but even then it was, sundown. We got to see the sunset and all that. It was beautiful. And enjoyed another nice dinner and walked around. I had my first real Parisian crepes. That was amazing. We got to split ones as to try to not make the stomach any bigger than it has to be. And then day 3, we did our own self-guided walking tour through the Toot app of Emily in Paris. We walked her footsteps. If you don't watch that show, it's an adorable Netflix show based in Paris, and an American girl going there.
Hey, we are at the place where Emily in Paris happened. So we have the boulangerie just right here, and this is Gabrielle's restaurant. And then when we just go a little bit on the right, then this is a cafe that Mindy and Emily went for all of their gossips. And this is the rest of the quarter.
We ate lunch right there, right when they opened, and it was awesome. It's got an Italian vibe in there. So we both had tortellinis, and we had 2 different kinds, and we split them half and half, and that was awesome. Then we walked through a garden on the way to where her and her boss Sylvie work at
Agence Gratteau.
Agence Gratteau, thank you. And we got to pretend to knock on their door as well. So that was really cool to say, like, we know all these locations, I recognize all these doors and stuff.
And it's a fun thing to do in Paris, going outside of the main tourist areas.
Yeah.
So we were walking around the streets in Paris. So I really like that experience.
Yeah,
as well.
You're not just surrounded by other tourists, except for other people that were obviously doing that
The
same thing,
thing.
because they're taking pictures of a random door, and I'm like, oh, you guys are
That
fans of
must
the
be
show.
it.
Yeah, so that was funny.
I just searched Google for one of the best places that had foie gras.
Oh, foie gras, yes.
And it brought us back to a restaurant closer to the cathedral.
We got back, watched a movie, went to bed, and on our way home the next morning, But we were able to sit together this time on the way home, right in the middle of the plane, which you would typically think is a bad thing, but nobody sat on either side of us. So we were able to sprawl way out, watch our movies, play our games, try to take a nap. And before you know it, we were in San Francisco, going through customs, and then back to San Diego soon after that. So
Yeah.
all in all, an amazing tapas tour of the European Union.